Yeah.
All right, so you get the idea. You put copper paint on an object and you can create a copper skin, right? You can also do things like take the stained glass copper foil and put that around the edge of a bead. Anything that's metal is going to continue to grab metal. And I had a class with a bunch of jewelers, and they brought me, believe it or not, they brought me silver, sterling silver, to Electroform, which seems completely counterintuitive. But what we were doing with it was we were gluing bales on things, and like silver bales, and no need to even cover it with copper paint. And then we would lead the copper paint right up to the silver, and that created the circuit that we needed. So this is a good example of a complete circuit. I could have just put the paint on the inside here, but I needed to have it come up over the edges. And this was just a big bead, and I wanted to make it more interesting. So I took something called fashion beads, and they're self-adhesive beads. It's like Elmer's glue with little glass beads in it. And it dries clear, the glue dries clear, and it left me with a bunch of these little micro beads all over my piece, which I then took the copper paint and painted over them, and then to add a little bit of interest, I made these little spokes. And now, what will happen is the electricity will come down the wire I'm going to hang it on. It will make a complete circuit all the way around the bead, and then go back, and then make this complete circuit. In the class, I really teach you how you can mess this up. There's no way to mess up a circular bead like this, really, but unless you don't make it come up over the edges. But there are ways for electroforming not to work. I get a lot of phone calls, it's not working. They send me a picture, and I say, well, that painting job won't work. So there's a few things to do. If I were to do this little perfume bottle, I'd have to find a creative way to hang it, but I might electroform this little skirt that I've created on it, and I have done that before. It's really a neat look. So what I have is the power supply, I have a set of leads, and I have something called a U-wire, and on it are 2 pieces of copper. These have been used all week, so this is what I'm left with after a week of electroforming. They're getting a little thinner, but they're still viable. And I have this structure called a U-wire. The reason I need these is that the way electroforming works, in a real brief summary, is that this solution right here is slightly acidic. It's not acidic to burn your hand, not to burn your hands necessarily, but if you dropped it on your granite countertop and left it there, the next day you'd have a nice little etched place on your countertop. Not a good idea, so you want to put down paper or whatever. And what it is doing slowly but surely is it is etching off some copper from these and letting it free float in the solution. So I'm going to put this in here. Then I'm going to find a way to hang my object. Now this is easy with beads because they have a hole in them. But with other items you have to figure out how you're going to hang it. The spider was great, it had a little leg. I could, hang it on the little leg. I love these big hole beads. It's like the first thing I tell people to practice with, because you can create this kind of fish hook look, and it will touch the paint in multiple places so that I know I have a very good circuit going on. And line that up just a little bit. And I hang that then in the solution.
What is the blue solution?
It's a, there's an MSDS sheet for it. It's got a little bit of copper sulfate. It's got some cupric acid. It's just got some various things. I have heard you can make your own. I find it just easy enough to buy the bottle.
Where do you get it?
There's a wonderful place called Dalmar Plating online, and they sell it.
And can you use it over and over, or just one time? Or, okay.
You can, when I sell the kit, I sell it with some carbon and some filters and things like that, because you can just pour it right back into the bottle through a funnel. And I've used the same bottle of solution for a year.
Okay.
And it comes, the kit comes with a little bit of refresher so that you can just add a little bit more. You add, in Spokane it was so dry, I would be adding water every day to it, and it's distilled water, and then I would add just a little bit more of the refresher back in. So So the way this works is the red wire goes on the U wire and the black one goes on the straight wire. Hard to remember except for that because I'm doing beads, I say black equals bead. Yeah. So black always goes on the one that the bead's hanging from. So I want this bead in here and I want it to not touch the anodes. And I want it not to touch the glass if I can, because all of these things are going to slow down the electricity. They're going to cause a break in the circuit that you're trying to create. So I've got this in here, and then I turn on my little machine. And if I have a good setup, I'll have 0 on the top and 0 on the bottom, which it looks like I have an okay setup. And then I'm going to raise the top number just to a little tiny bit of electricity, like 0.15. This is a really big bead. I actually had this in, it's been electroforming. That's already been electroforming for some time, and I had it around 0.35 or 0.40. Now I just leave it alone, and I come back and look at it in a couple of hours, and then I leave it alone, and then I come back and look at it in a couple of hours. There are sometimes places that don't plate, so I will take it out, wash it off, paint it, let it dry, and put it back in. So somebody was asking me about the process I use with the leaves. It's a difficult process. You have to figure out, do I have every piece of the leaf coated? Do I have, or is it going to curl? This paint that I prefer has an acetone base in it. It makes things curl sometimes. And then occasionally, for some reason on leaves, they're not very conductive, so I'll have to go back and paint parts of it and put it back in. And so the leaves are a big process.
What paint do you get that from Telemark?
Yeah. So this is called an Easy Plate Conductive Coating. There's another place that sells it, and it's called Safer Solutions. It's a waxier paint. It's a wax-based and water-based paint. Problem that I find with it is that if you have a good friend who does electroforming, go in together and buy it, because I think it's $80 for this bottle, and it's huge. So it's a good value, but you just need to be able to use it before it oxidizes or dries up or whatever. So I like this. It's 4 ounces of paint. It's enough to do a lot of beads. So, yeah.
On organic items, I know the spider was dead, at least I'm hoping
He was dead.
before you dead him, but with a leaf, does it have to be a fresh leaf or can it be dry?
Like right now, I'm just using dried leaves because there are no fresh leaves. But if I can do a fresh leaf, I like to, because somebody look at your postcard. There's one where the leaf is curled around the bead. That's a wild blackberry leaf that I picked up in Seattle, and I made sure to get it painted it on the leaf before it curled, and I was able to round it around the edges of my bead, which is a fantastic thing to be able to do. With a dried leaf, no go. So, I find flowers very difficult. There's a hydrangea blossom on that postcard. It's a very meaty flower. If you ever look at it, they're very sturdy petals. It doesn't tend, if you want any kind of depth with the flower, you can't use a dried flower. So you need to find a live one that can withstand the drying and the whatever of the paint. So, yeah.
Would you just dip it in paint?
I think I painted the flower, yeah. You can dip into the paint.
So the spiders, did you paint them?
No, I dipped them. I wanted every part of him. I want him very encased in that color. So yeah.
So you had to tie a little thing around.
Oh, I probably put him on a paper clip and dipped him into the paint jar or something. Yeah, nothing special.
So the glass doesn't have any recessed on it?
No. And in fact, I've heard it said that you cannot electroform unetched glass. It's just absolutely not true. I almost never etch my glass beforehand. I just make sure I have a very solid, the thing needs to be lashed on, I lash it on, or I just make sure if I'm painting directly into the glass that it's very dry when I put it in. I've had people say, my paint's peeling off, and I say, how long did you wait? Well, I was excited, I put it in after 15 minutes or whatever, and the paint wasn't really dry, so now it's flaking off and it's